Thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Lauren Lemanchek. Now let's get to your headlines. New this afternoon, a U of M grad student detained by ICE will stay in jail at least until next week. That decision made today in a hearing for Dahukan Gonaiden. It comes as we get new information about why he was detained in the first place. This memo sent to ICE from the U.S. State Department states U of M international student Gonaiden, quote, poses a threat to the U.S. public safety due to a drunk driving conviction in 2024. Gonaiden's attorney argues the termination of his student status was unlawful, writing misdemeanor, nonviolent offenses such as Mr. Gonaiden's criminal conviction do not meet the threshold for termination based on criminal history. Gonaiden's expected back in court this Friday. Let's take a look at the markets right now. Big gains today, slowly starting to fizzle after several straight days of losses, while the markets reacted to President Trump's new tariffs on basically every country that trades with the United States. We could see a big shakeup in the markets, however, come tomorrow morning. President Trump threatening China with additional tariffs on everything coming into U.S. from that country if China doesn't remove a tariff on U.S. goods coming into their country by tonight at midnight. China standing firm so far, but other countries have already given in, according to U.S. officials.
We've already had many countries, many of our markets, explain that they are not going to retaliate against the United States. And in fact, Vietnam, for example, they've lowered their tariffs already on cherries. They've lowered them on almonds and apples, things I know are important to the Pacific Northwest. And this is exactly the right direction that we want to go in.
Meantime, China says it is ready to, quote, fight to the end with the U.S. if it imposes further tariffs on the country, like President Trump has threatened. Right now, China is already planning its own round of retaliatory tariffs. NBC's Janice Mackey-Frayer is in Beijing with the details.
China responded to President Trump's threat of additional tariffs with defiance and its own threat of countermeasures to fight a trade war with the U.S. to the end. If President Trump goes through with what he has vowed, this additional 50% tariffs on all Chinese goods going into the U.S., that's 104% on anything consumers buy from China. Clothing, shoes, car parts, toys, tech, household goods, the list goes on. China is very clear in saying it will not back down from imposing countermeasures to what officials here call U.S. blackmail. They see negotiation as legitimizing President Trump's trade blitz that is hitting manufacturing hubs right across Asia. Japan, Vietnam, Cambodia, South Korea, they are all signaling they want to negotiate with the U.S., though talks, it seems, are no guarantee of getting tariff relief. Here, a spokesperson for China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed there are no talks at any level between the U.S. and China over trade, saying, quote, the U.S. lacks a genuine willingness to engage in serious dialogue. Now, before the markets opened here today, the government unleashed a series of measures to help stabilize the stock market, including share buybacks by several state-owned companies. They're known here as China's national team, and that helped the markets close higher. The deadlines, though, are piling on now. All these back-to-back tariffs are set to take effect over the next 48 hours and threaten to disrupt trades, supply chains, and ultimately raise prices for U.S. consumers down the road. Janice Mackey-Frayer, NBC News, Beijing.
New today, the Supreme Court is stopping a federal judge's ruling requiring several federal agencies to reinstate around 16,000 workers the Trump administration had sought to fire. The decision to grant the administration's request means the federal government does not have to take steps to bring back some workers who were laid off, while litigation moves forward before a federal judge in California. A judge in Maryland issued a similar ruling that applies to the same agencies at issue as in the California case, as well as others. That decision, which requires affected employees in 19 states and the District of Columbia to be kept on paid administrative leave while litigation continues, that remains in place. California-based U.S. District Judge William Alsup ruled that fired probationary employees should be reinstated because the process was legally flawed. New intense video today showing a massive tree come crashing down on an SUV waiting at a stoplight. This happened in Pennsylvania in an area that just got hit by severe weather. Now, incredibly, you can see the driver just get the door open and then get out. She did end up being okay. No one else was hurt. Meantime, parts of Kentucky are still underwater this afternoon, days after intense rain forced rivers from their banks. You can see rooftops just peeking out of the waters of the Ohio River, and the river isn't even at its peak yet. Water is expected to rise another foot or so through tomorrow before coming back down. Today, millions of Americans are still dealing with widespread flooding in communities across the South and Midwest. The storms have claimed the lives of at least 24 people so far. NBC's Marissa Para is in Clarksville, Tennessee with the latest.
I'm Marissa Para in Middle Tennessee, and if you can believe it, we are standing in the middle of a neighborhood. This yellow tape here, there's a reason it's preventing us from getting any closer, because if you look in that direction, you'll see those mailboxes. That shows you just how high the water level still is here. Now, the damage in terms of dollars and cents, that will take time to assess, but we know this weather system has already claimed at least 24 lives. President Trump has approved emergency declarations for states like Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas. And we've seen those videos of the water rescues, the evacuations out of Louisville, Kentucky, a construction vehicle being used to load the luggage out of the hotel. And then, of course, people being taken out of the area on those rafts. Now, when we talk about river flooding, it is unpredictable. So even though we here in Tennessee are not expecting rain in this area specifically, the threat isn't over yet. And again, this is a community that has not even seen the water recede. There's a lot of communities that haven't even started the recovery process. This, as the threat is still looming for so many.
A heads up if you're driving in the North Metro anytime soon. The Department of Transportation is starting work in the second year of the I-94 GAP project between Albertville and Monticello. MnDOT is expanding westbound I-94 to 3 lanes from Wright County Road 37 to west of Highway 25 in Monticello. Today, crews are putting up barriers, so expect slower traffic there. Then next week, crews start work on the road itself. We have new details this afternoon on why an expansion of a new light rail line to Eden Prairie from downtown Minneapolis is 4 years behind schedule and millions of dollars over budget. State auditors released a report showing the Met Council had moments of non-compliance since breaking ground on the Green Line nearly 7 years ago. It includes inadequate monitoring of how contaminated soil was moved out of sites and project estimates that came back 2 to 5 times higher than their original estimates.
Overall, we actually accept the feedback readily. We know that there's many areas where we can improve.
Leaders with the Met Council say they're already making changes to address these issues. The plan is to have the Green Line up and running by 2027, as it is only about 85% complete right now. Developing right now in the Dominican Republic, dozens of people are dead. Even more are hurt after a club's roof collapsed this morning. It happened at a popular nightclub, Jet Set, in Santo Domingo. Investigators say merengue singer Ruby Perez is among those injured. She was performing at the club when the roof came down. Crews are on the scene right now investigating what caused the roof to collapse. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. now says he'll tell the CDC to stop recommending fluoride in drinking water. This comes as the EPA says it's reviewing potential health risks. Utah became the first state to ban fluoride in taps last month, despite pushback from dentists and health groups who say it will disproportionately affect low-income communities. NBC's Emily Aikita has more on the debate.
The fight over fluoride in drinking water on full blast. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. doubling down on his calls to ban the mineral from public water supplies, a move that would reverse a decades-long practice the CDC has called one of the greatest public health achievements in U.S. history.
And the era of fluoridated toothpastes and mouthwashes, it makes no sense to have fluoride in our water.
The EPA now re-examining research on fluoride's possible health effects, and Kennedy telling the Associated Press he plans to direct the CDC to stop recommending fluoride in drinking water, or fluoridation, nationwide, pointing to a recent report that found a statistically significant association between higher fluoride exposure and lower IQ scores in children. But that controversial analysis done outside the U.S. looked at fluoride levels more than double what federal regulators currently recommend in drinking water. The mineral has been widely added to water in the U.S. since the 1940s, preventing cavities, reducing oral health disparities, and saving money for everyone, according to the CDC. Dr. Margaret Lockery is a board-certified pediatric dentist.
I'm really worried for my patients, especially the most vulnerable of our populations, our children, people with low income levels that may or may not be able to access dental care.
The American Dental Association supports fluoridation, writing in a statement, "The growing distrust of credible, time-tested, evidence-based science is disheartening."
I would anticipate that emergency room visits would go up, and it would just increase the overall dental decay rate in our population.
Well, you need to check your fridge or freezer today. 22,000 pounds of Johnsonville cheddar bratwurst are being recalled because there might be plastic inside of it. The product was shipped and sold in 10 states, including Minnesota. The USDA says they have received 2 complaints of plastic being in the brats, but thankfully no one's reported any injuries. If you have any, throw them out or return them to the store where you got it for a refund. Voyageurs National Park is turning 50. The park has a rich history featuring everything Minnesotans love: wildlife, hiking, northern lights. If you're up for the more than 4-hour drive there today, you can join them from an open house from 3 to 6. Yes, there will be cake. Or you can log in on your lunch break and join them for a virtual party on Zoom. You can learn more on their Facebook page. Stick around. We'll be right back.